But first, I'd like to rant a little bit about this election. Now, first of all, I find it fascinating the hypocrisy of the two parties. My first reaction to what is happening right now, and what I mean is that the Republicans are still fighting for office. They're claiming fraud in the voting, and nobody's reporting that, but it's true. But I mean, it is the case, so it isn't a done deal yet. But I was thinking about 4 years ago when the same thing happened, and Hillary was claiming that the Russians helped Trump win, and everybody that's a Republican, pretty much denied that the Russians had anything to do with it, and the Democrats, the ones I've talked to, mostly say, "Oh, it's proven. The Russians were behind it." And now it's the opposite. So now most Republicans say, "Oh, it's proven that there's fraud, and we've got to check this out." And the Democrats are like, "There's nothing there." All the mainstream media is saying there's nothing there. Even Fox, for whatever reason, is like, "Well, there might be fraud, but let's just concede, and he's not gonna get it back, and blah blah blah." So there's very, very few people that are reporting that, on these lawsuits and litigations. I've heard some conservative talk shows that are saying this, and they're a little more optimistic about Trump getting back in. And so, I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen. But I do find the hypocrisy fascinating, and that people just believe what they want to believe. In the first episode, I said my journey towards truth, and when I said that all I care about is what the truth is, I really, it doesn't matter what I want to believe. Because if what I want to believe is true, then I'll say, well, somehow Ron Paul is going to get in there. No, that's not how I think. So I've noticed this about a lot of people, is that they're just so convinced of what they believe or what they want to believe, or that they're right is true, that they'll only listen to the media that they support or that they agree with. And then everybody else is just, fake news. And this is just frustrating to me as a truth seeker, and that term gets kind of overused. But yeah, I mean, just depending on which media source you listen to, I think the one that I've heard recently on YouTube that I don't really know much about, they could be something similar to QAnon, I don't know. But on YouTube it's called MTB, I think. Anyway, I don't know. I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's something like MTV, but they're very they're talking as if, there's so much evidence and he's going to get back into office and all this stuff. And, and of course, if you listen to other news sources, they'll say, they've already lost all the, they've already been denied everything and it's over, blah, blah, blah. And just depending on who you want to listen to is who you believe. And I just listen to all of them, and I don't believe any of them. The one guy I do believe is Ron Paul, which, he has a YouTube channel called The Liberty Report, which I subscribe to and I recommend. But he seems to be pretty consistent with his views and ideology. He's not a Trump supporter. He's not a Biden supporter. But he has said that there is a lot of evidence for fraud, for voter fraud. And so, we'll see how that goes. And for some reason, when I say this, and I mentioned this on my Facebook page, that there seems to be a lot of evidence, and that this is not over yet, but the media is not reporting it. And the response I got was people accuse me of being a Trump supporter, which is, ridiculous. I mean, you know how what that made me think of is, as a Cowboys fan, I'm predicting them to lose their next game. That doesn't mean that I'm rooting against them. Well, maybe in a sense I am, because I want them to get a higher draft pick. But still, like, if you're being objective and you're just saying, I think the Cowboys are going to lose, or whatever team you root for, it doesn't mean that you're rooting against them or that you don't like the team. It just means that that's what you think is realistic, you know. So, you know, and I think the same thing is true with what I'm saying here, is I predict that maybe there's more to these litigations and lawsuits than the media is letting us on to, and that Trump could very well be back in office. I also heard a possibility that the Electoral College could select him even though he didn't win the general, the election. That it's only happened once in history, I think, where the Electoral College selected somebody different than what the people voted for. So, you know, I don't know if that'll happen. I mean, it's only happened, I think, once back in the 1800s. But, you know, we'll see. But that is, you know, it is constitutional. So, but of course, people are going to be up in arms if that happens, as divided as things are now. And just to make, you know, I'm not a prophet, so I'm not here to prophesy or anything like that. But just to make a little prediction of realistically how I think this is going, is that if Trump gets back in and is president again in, 2021 and swears in again, that obviously as much upheaval and rioting as there's been on the left in 2020, you can imagine how much worse that will get people. And something that I said, and again, I don't want to say that I hope this will happen, but like if that leads to, let's say that it gets overturned, and then at the same time it gets overturned, another black guy gets shot by a cop. I mean, that's kind of overkill in terms of messing with people's emotions. On the other hand, and also what I was going to say was that if things got way out of hand with the rioting, that Trump will bring about martial law. I mean, he's already threatened to and has in certain places. But anyway, so that's another reason I don't support Trump. But, honestly, the other possibility is that Biden continues to win, even though, let's say, a lot of evidence comes out that there was fraud, that you'll have the equivalent of Antifa on the right, and they will start to have similar rioting and burning down buildings as the Antifa did. And this is another place that hypocrisy could come in. Now, again, I'm not prophesying. I'm just saying I could imagine this happening. This seems like the way things could pan out, and the hypocrisy could come out full-fledged by the people in the false left-right paradigm. But, like, I had many friends on the left that supported Antifa, that said it's necessary to burn down these buildings because they don't, because that's what it'll take to stop police brutality or racism and all that, which I think is ridiculous. Obviously, I think we need reform in the police. But what I was going to say is that what if Biden wins, and despite if there's a lot of proof that there was fraud, and you have this right equivalent to Antifa, sort of an extremist group for the right that does all these protests and burns down buildings, and people that are conservatives defend it because, I don't know. And everybody is the opposite of what they were a year ago or this year. Don't be surprised. I've seen several instances in the past where there's left-right hypocrisy, where they only see what is wrong with the other people on the other side and not what's wrong with themselves. They ignore everything wrong with themselves on their party line, whatever. And that's what I've seen happen. So that's just a way that things could pan out. But regardless, to all the Christians out there, our hope is not in Trump or Biden. Our hope is not in America. Our hope is not in any person in the church. I would even say if Ron Paul got elected, that's not where our hope is, even though I like Ron Paul. Our hope is in Jesus Christ.